Now we're going to go to Washington and the dysfunction that could derail the economy. Believe it or not, we could be just days away from another government shutdown and possible default for the U.S. ABC's John Carl is covering it all from the White House. And John, two big deadlines approaching. Government runs out of money September 30th and then can't borrow any more money a couple weeks after that.
That's right, George, and it is a real mess. House Republicans are set today to finally pass a bill that would temporarily fund the government just until December, but that it includes a provision that says that no money can be spent on the president's health care bill ever. That has 0% chance of passing in the Senate. That puts us right back to square one with a government shutdown set in just over a week. And George, remember, this is just a temporary funding bill. It's the first big thing. We also, as you mentioned, have coming up whether or not the government will continue to be able to borrow money. That could put the government at risk of default, and there is no solution on the horizon for that one.
And the consequences of government shutdown, bad. Consequences of a default, catastrophic. And this new poll, we have a new poll out at ABC, which actually has some warnings for both sides.
It sure does. This is about the president's health care law, and it shows the law is still unpopular. A majority of the public doesn't like the way it's being implemented. Only barely a third approves of how it's being implemented. But George, our poll also shows that more unpopular than the president's health care law by far is the idea of shutting down the government to defund it.
Yet it may happen. Okay, John Carl, thanks very much.
At midnight last night, for the first time in 17 years, the Republicans in Congress chose to shut down the federal government. Let me be more specific. One faction of one party in one house of Congress, in one branch of government, shut down major parts of the government, all because they didn't like one law. This Republican shutdown did not have to happen, but I want every American to understand why.
The United States government came grinding to a halt overnight after lawmakers were unable to agree on a spending plan. This morning, offices, museums, and even websites were shut down. And the longer this goes, the more it will affect you. Not only will it impact the American economy and eventually Canada's too, but the big fear is October 17th, when the U.S. government is expected to run out of money. And that could be catastrophic. Neil McDonald has our look at what did happen.
Most of the time they barely do any work, but now even that small amount has been shirked. Look up ineffective on Wikipedia and there they are. They bicker and argue and go on TV. They putz around looking for something to eat, and when it comes to assholery, they raise the bar.
Everybody.
Under pressure as a government shutdown showdown looms, President Obama spoke to business leaders Wednesday about the battles ahead.
What we now have is an ideological fight that's been mounted in the House of Representatives that says we're not going to pass a budget and we will threaten a government shutdown unless we repeal the Affordable Care Act.
On Capitol Hill, House Republicans announced plans to vote to block the president's signature domestic achievement, Obama.